Hello again, YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And as you can see, I am sat in my Tesla, which if you've been following the channel, you know is a brand new Model Y Juniper, the all-wheel drive long-range version. And I've done quite a few miles in this car already. So I thought this video could ask the obvious question. This new Model Y, what's it like to live with? And no, that isn't a daft question. A lot of people still post comments on my channel and on my X feed as well, asking rather basic questions about EVs. You know, where do you charge them? What does it cost? How long does it take? Is it like a normal car? And I just thought, well, why don't we just have a run around in it? So I'm actually nowhere near where I live. I'm down in Essex and I'm going to Kent and then back into Essex again. I'm basically running around here and there on business. And I just thought you could come for a ride and I can tell you a little bit as we go. So the first point to note, this is an EV. And I know that an electric vehicle is a concept that traumatizes some people who are tiny of brain or watch the wrong news channels and read the wrong newspapers, where they're being constantly fed this endless diet of fear, uncertainty and doubt. FUD. I actually lovingly call them FUDers, because these are the people where facts and sanity aren't really a thing that are part of their world. What they like is basically being outraged and being fed more things to keep them more outraged so that they keep consuming more FUD. And one of those is, well, it's an EV and you can't go long distances in an EV. Well, okay, so at the moment it's just me. But in this car yesterday, I had all four members of the family and a boot that's so full of stuff that there's no load cover on it. And you can see there's a box there. There was a lot more stuff in there with all of our luggage and so on. There's stuff under the floor, there's stuff in the front. I am hauling a load of stuff for work as well as bringing the family down. And we all did that in an 11.5-hour trip, and it was absolutely brilliant. This car is supremely comfortable all day with a family and a whole load of stuff. Okay, and yesterday was what, 610 miles, which is quite a long way, no problem at all. And in those 11.5 hours, we stopped 3 times. The first time, we stopped because the kids really wanted a McDonald's breakfast. So, okay, we pulled off the road into McDonald's. It just happened to be a McDonald's with a supercharger next to it. So while I topped the car off, the kids went next door and got Mackie D's, and then we came back again and then we set off. We then had a very quick wee and coffee stop, not at the same time, one and then the other. We stopped at Costa as we were driving past, and it took, what, 10 minutes to go in and have a wee and buy a Costa. And while we were doing those 10 minutes, we were doing what I would lovingly call a zap and dash. And then after that, we had a stop a little bit further down, because then it really was, I don't want to say lunchtime because it was mid-afternoon, but that was the point where we decided that we were going to eat. And again, we picked a place that had loads of different food outlets and a supercharger, and the car charged up while we were eating. In each of those stops, we didn't waste a minute while we needed to stop for various reasons, biological, needing to have a wee, needing to eat and drink. The car was charging. Had I been driving a fuel car and actually needed to put some more dead dinosaurs into the tank, then we would have needed to have done an extra 5 minutes or so after the stop to go and fill the tank. Whereas with an EV, it's filling up while you're doing something else. So for the people who say, what's it like living with an EV? What's it like living with a Tesla? Can you do long distance trips? The answer is sure, without question. Without really even needing to think about it. You get in the car, you tell it where you want to go, and you go. Or even better, tell the car where you want to go before you even get in it. And then the car will warm itself for you to the desired temperature, or cool itself, because we're now in the summer. I know it looks a bit grey through the roof, but allegedly it is the summer. The car will get the temperature exactly as you want. You get in the car, You drive, the car tells you where to stop and for how long, and you can make choices as to where those are. If you want to stop at a particular place, then just add it, and off you go. Look, I didn't film yesterday because I know my family appear on video occasionally, but a lot of the time they don't. And yesterday was basically us time. It wasn't filming time. And besides which, I spent hours yesterday sat in the back seat with the laptop open and doing work. No, it wasn't FSD driving the car, because in Europe we don't have FSD, but it's coming soon. My wife was driving, I was sat in the back of the car working, and there's loads of space in the back of the car. And the great thing about this new Model Y versus the previous generation is that they have really sorted the ride and the suspension. This car is a supremely comfortable thing to ride in. Really is now. It is a really nice cruiser to go on these long trips for. Long wheelbase cars usually are, because obviously you've got the longer wheelbase to be able to spread the bumps. If it's shorter, then it oscillates a little bit more. But the previous generation car, the suspension was a bit more unforgiving. It was a bit more Audi S-Line, BMW M Sport, jarring for the sake of being jarring. Now it's much smoother. You can still hustle it, but it's a lot smoother. So the ride is comfortable, the car is comfortable, charging isn't an issue, you just drive. I don't honestly understand what fuss people are trying to make when they start talking about EVs. And here's the other point. EVs are everywhere. And I'm recording this at the end of July 2025. It will not be July when this actually goes out, because I've got so many other videos already in the pipeline. So make sure that you have liked and subscribed and hit the bell icon so that you know when all of those other videos are coming out, right? But what on earth are these guys doing? Sorry, you can't see because I've got the camera pointing at me, but basically the problem with driving in southeast England is southern drivers. Anyway, what can I say? What was I saying? So before I rudely interrupted myself, I was saying EVs, I think they're everywhere now. As I drive around and I see new cars, and let's be clear, I am talking about newer cars. There are a lot more older cars than there are newer cars at any given time, regardless of the type of fuel or the powertrain. That's just reality. But of newer cars, I am seeing more and more and more EVs. There is a video coming up talking about the EV adoption curve. I think we've gone past the tipping point, but that's a separate video. But let's just say EV, another one going past, another EV. They are everywhere. So when people ask, well, what's it like living with an EV? What's it like living with a Tesla? It's like living with a car, guys. It's a car. What else do you want me to say? Range isn't an issue. Charging isn't an issue. It's a car. And here's the point. For all the people who knock EVs and range, right, I want you to ask, what is the normal distance that you drive on any given day? And you'll surprise yourself, because it isn't actually very far. And the statistics prove this. Most people, for the majority of the time, drive a distance that an EV can do, any EV can do, in any weather, without needing to even break a sweat, right? That's the simple reality of this. Any car, any EV will cope with most people's average use. And when it's not your average use, and I accept that there are times where you find yourself wanting to go further, there are chargers now absolutely everywhere. And okay, so I'm a little critical sometimes about the non-Tesla chargers of this world, because they're not particularly good, but there are chargers everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. So you don't need to worry about it. Charging is not an issue. Charging is absolutely not an issue, for the point where you do need to go further. But most people, most of the time, it's not even a consideration. And then you come on to things like maintenance. And the only reason that a lot of EVs even have maintenance is because the legacy car manufacturers are in hock to their dealer networks. So if you're a Mercedes dealership, right, you are used to your Mercedes cars coming back in and you charging 200, 300, 400 quid for a service every ridiculously short number of miles because you've got to go out there and check the oil and change the oil and fiddle and fettle and all the rest of it with mechanical gubbins, which do not exist on an EV. But too many manufacturers still have it where you've still got the same service regime, even though the things that they actually have to service on a mechanical car do not actually exist on the EV. But increasingly there are more choices, and the more choices are offering minimal maintenance and therefore much lower running costs, and the legacy manufacturers are now starting to respond to this and then dialing out the service intervals for EVs. They don't like it, what they're having to do to compete with, well, frankly, the Chinese or this car, because this car has got no maintenance schedule at all. There are things you need to check every couple of years, like brake fluid, but it's literally every couple of years, right? You don't need to do anything else. There is no service maintenance. You are not going to break the warranty by not having this car serviced according to the schedule, because there isn't a schedule. And it's the same for a lot of EVs now. And when you think about it, you've got a car that's much easier to drive, that's much easier to fuel and much cheaper to fuel, because overnight electricity costs are a lot cheaper than petrol or diesel. Cheaper to run, cheaper to maintain, cheaper to service, and easier to drive. Why on earth aren't you in an EV if you're already in one? So when I started thinking about this video, and it was like, what exactly am I going to talk about on this video? It's like, hey, what I'm going to talk about is what's it like living with this car? And this car versus other Teslas, it's brilliant, but it's already gone much wider than that, because it's like, what's it like living with this car versus another car? What's it like living with this car versus, say, the Volvo, the big Volvo that I used to have, an S90 diesel, which, by the way, for all of the EVs depreciate obsessives, the worst depreciating car that I ever had was the Volvo diesel, right? Volvo diesel, worst depreciating. I lost a bomb. Well, the dealership lost a bomb when they sold it to me with a third off. I then lost a further bomb in a few years when I sold it. The best depreciating car that I ever had was a plug-in hybrid. So stick that up your exhaust pipe. People are obsessed. EVs are brilliant. Just get one. I've still got a petrol car, right? I've got a 2009 Hyundai i30 petrol manual gearbox. It's like driving something out of the dark ages. And genuinely, when we first had the same car back in, well, when it was new, 2009, we haven't had the same car all the way through. We sold it and then I bought another one. But when we originally got that car back in the day, actually, I thought it was pretty decent. Now, it's a relic from the past, and I'd really like to shut of it and replace it with another EV. But I can't afford to buy any other new or ish used car, right? So the cheapest car that you'll ever own is the car you already have, and in this case, it just happens to be a dinosaur. So we're quite enjoying the dinosaur experience, but oh dear God, it's just old. And for the people who say, the best car ever is this one from 20 years ago. Have you ever driven a modern car? Any modern car, regardless of drivetrain? Go and get yourself in. If you've got a 20-year-old BMW and you think it's the best thing in the world, go and drive a new BMW. It'll be much better, regardless of the powertrain. Just do it. And I think just do it is kind of the theme of this video. What's it like living with this car after almost 5,000 miles already? Gosh, that's quite a lot. And what's it like living with it? And the answer is, it's fantastic. This is already the best car that I've ever owned, because it's just so easy to live with and it does everything. So if you're thinking about taking the leap and you're worried about range and you're worried about charging and you're worried about costs, forget all of the FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt. It's all a lie. The oil industry feeding its nonsense through idiot papers like the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph, or GBBs if you're watching the telly box, feeding you with this nonsense. Forget the nonsense. just get an EV, and specifically just get a Tesla. And on that happy note, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. And I'll see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.